In the Buddha, and being awake, in the Dharma and in the Sangha, the community of practice. I invite you, if your eyes are still open, look around. This is your local community of practice. These are the people who are here with us right now. It's comforting to know that one has friends on the journey. Before too long, we'll be getting back into the meditation center. I was there yesterday finishing doors. It was quite lovely. So COVID will be the factor holding us back now. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya. I have a creaky chair. It's actually a rocker. Here we go. I want to get the Buddha in there. All right, dear friends. Enough playing around. Please find a way to sit comfortably upright. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. When I hear that from Rumi, I think he's talking about bare attention. He's talking about loving kindness. He's talking about mindfulness. Move within, but don't move the way fear makes you move. Take down your dulcimer and let the beauty we love be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. Awareness meets the sitting body that breathes. We can be sort of present with the breath. It's kind of an incidental thing that's happening. Or we can make a commitment to life. And we can be profoundly present with the breath. With the breath fully. It takes a lot of willingness to do that, though. To incarnate, to actually acknowledge our mortal body, is an act of incredible bravery. We can stay protected in our thoughts, memories, plans, excitements, various forms of intoxication, distraction. And then there is the simple biological consciousness fact of awareness and the billowing inward of the breath. The actual sensations of the chest and abdomen as they expand. The breathing sings the song of impermanence as clearly as anything else we'll ever experience. The breath begins. There is expansion to fullness, and then decline to ending. The mystery of awareness is also here with us. We've swum in it so long that we take it for granted. But it is a something. It is a miracle, actually. And so the breath comes and goes, and it is somehow known. And we might ask ourselves, where does this knowing happen? There's a popular idea that it happens in the brain, but do we know that? Do you know that? It's an idea. And there may well or probably are thoughts arising. In fact, quite often we fall into trance states that are full of thoughts. They are thoughts. Thoughts of the past, thoughts of the future. Worried thoughts, excited thoughts, depressive thoughts. Let us also notice thoughts. And when awareness awakens in thoughts, let's come back to the breath. Let's make a practice of not identifying with thoughts. moment by moment, time and again, remembering to be mindful. Remembering to use the breath as a concentration object, as a location, a kind of point of stability, relative stability. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground, to come into contact with reality. Noticing thoughts as thoughts. Is there some mood present? A little more dispersed than thoughts, but very real, at least in a relative way. Coming home to right now, to this in-breathing. Awakening to the thoughts that are present. We don't need to manipulate them anyway. We don't have to substitute positive thoughts for negative thoughts, unpleasant thoughts. They're always passing away. They just disappear. we discover ourselves to be abiding in now. When that happens, we're not practicing to prepare for something. We're not practicing to get rid of something, really. We're practicing for the sake of practice, for the sake of being. We don't even have to go outside our own bodies to kiss the ground. In embracing life, we might also be open to more of the body than the breath. We might include the life of the hands. It's kind of an amazing phenomenon. We hear a suggestion to be aware of the hands, and suddenly there's all this life. Suddenly it's in the foreground. Or let's become aware of the feet and the toes, the heels and the Achilles tendon. Maybe the front of the leg, the tibias, the shins, or the back, the calves. There's all the life in the back and the sacrum, in the abdomen and the gut, the solar plexus. All the life of the pelvis. We don't need to make anything happen. There's simply awakening awareness and in the arms, in the shoulders, in the neck. All that life in the lips and the cheeks. In the scalp and the ears and the eyes. And so we cultivate the quality of being present, of being awake, mindfulness. There is a synonym for mindfulness, in fact. We could call it love. They come as a package. And if we want our practice to really blossom, it behooves us to make room for everything, the function of love. We might remind ourselves with a simple mantra, I love you, with your name at the end, I love you. And an intention, I intend to love and accept myself and everything that I experience in this moment. It's like we can put down the battle. I aspire to love and accept this moment and this that I experience as a self within it. And when I'm hurting, no matter how I'm hurting, whenever I'm experiencing dukkha, that kind of unpleasant grit in the wheel of life, I intend to embrace it. To experience it as an object of consciousness rather than me. we stop and sit. And somehow mysteriously can be mindful of what's happening. And please now let us bring awareness. Bring awareness. Let us become aware. Let us kiss the ground of life by bringing awareness into the eyes. The eyes. And while leaving them nicely closed, let them move around in their sockets, maybe some clockwise circles. And perhaps some counterclockwise circles. And then letting them come comfortably to rest. And notice the intention to let them open. And then make that happen. And something very mysterious happens, because if everything's working in the eyes, the brain, then seeing happens. But it's not just ordinary seeing, is it? It's seeing and knowing it. Where does that knowing happen? Seeing and knowing it. And of course it could be that there's someone here whose seeing is not so clear, or maybe non-existent. Maybe there's just light or nothing. It's all dependent on many conditions. And so if that's the case, then that's the noticing, the object to notice. Seeing. And I like to look from one little living postage stamp to the next, and usually I like to hold, not necessarily, but I like to hold a kind thought, like, may you be free from fear. May your relationships all go well. May your estranged children be safe. May the upcoming court case go well. There's so much we can wish for each other. My daughter Tara shared with me, she lives in Southeast on Salmon 45th or so, residential area. And she said she was driving her car and paying good attention. But there was a street where there's a stop sign, and she presumed the car would stop and didn't. Came within inches. She would have been T-boned. So, may you be safe when you're driving your car. My wife Jennifer and my daughter Tara have forced me to make a vow that I won't go on ladders. Because the hospitals have quite a few older men who go up on ladders. May you be safe on ladders. What it means is I can only clean the gutters when no one's home. Oh well. So anyway, let's look at each other with eyes of fondness. And among announcements, I'm aware, I think this is the Sunday night that Kendall will be teaching at 6:30 at PIMC. Sometime in the next week or two, Gregory will have hired movers, and the furniture will move into the tenant offices and out of the Dharma Hall, which will then be thoroughly shampooed by a professional company. Let me just check here. Hey, Jamie. You want to say something about your wonderful boss and the company? Say the name of the company.
Can you hear me?
I hear you fine.
I'm Jamie. I live about 1,000 steps from the Dharma Hall, and I am thrilled to see that it's being brought up to ADA standards, and I don't have a lot to give, but I do work for a company who cleans roofs and gutters and does window cleaning and pressure washing. The name of that company is Crystal Clear Window Cleaning and Gutter Services. And I asked my boss, Andrew Torres, who's a very wonderful, loving man to work for, if he would want to offer some of these services to the center if they were needed. So I contacted Robert, and he said, sure, let's do it. And Andrew my boss is doing this for no charge. He wants to bless the center in that way. He's never even heard of the center, but he knows how much it means to me. And since he's just fantastic. And so we were there yesterday, day before, cleaning and doing it all. And we'll be back Tuesday to finish up. So I'm just delighted to have been able to sort of...
Two very strong, very efficient young men with heavy-duty pressure washing tools and window washing. They're amazing, those guys. They worked all day. Yeah.
Some of the things they do are just remarkable. That the very, very steep roof.
Yeah.
I've seen them do stuff like that with no tie-offs, and I'm just like, you're talking about ladders, and I'm like, I couldn't do it.
They shouldn't do that. I'm going to show a few pictures here just to bring you into date here. This is the door to the ramp is right here. This is in the living room. And this is the plaque that was created. It's brushed aluminum. And you can see the Buddha in the background. That's our garden Buddha. And it's got some nice pictures. There's a nice picture of Ron, Nato, and I, and then Ron and Anne, Nato Campbell, and then Ron in Japan in China, I think, at a very famous place. And this is honoring their family history, but also the fact that they have made such incredible contributions to PIMC to allow this whole project to happen. And here's the look at this. Look at that. I don't recognize this sidewalk. It's so clean. And there's the one that goes up to the ramp door. And here's the ramp itself. They cleaned all this cement here too. And here's the front stairs and the sidewalk again. So it's coming along. Given COVID and the fact that I am going to actually take a vacation, February 5th to the 19th, I'm going to be in Costa Rica with Jennifer. So our grand opening will be after that sometime. Hopefully COVID will have diminished profoundly by then. Jim, my friend, is there more I should announce or you should announce? Oh, Jim's Doug's upcoming classes. He has a class coming up, Introduction to Mindfulness. That's on the website.
Those will be on Thursday evenings.
I think that's
I
it.
don't know of anything else.
Okay.
I've got a month before another Qigong workshop, but I'm looking forward to that. I had a very wonderful, beautiful day yesterday with a number of people, and it was great. Looking forward to continuing that. It's only been going for 10 years or so. But all right. I think it's time to take our attention to standing up. How about becoming aware of your seat on the bottom, and then watch how your body changes position, moving upward, getting oriented to a new space. And part of getting oriented to this space is to increase the amount of light. So the facilitator is visible. Getting in touch with our feet as we always begin. Feeling our contact with the earth. I want to bring the attention to the dominant hand. Just let awareness settle in the dominant hand and bring it up to what we call the collarbone. And feel the life in the collarbone. The Buddha said to reflect on the earth element as part of the life of this body. This contact between bony fingertips, and bony collarbone feels like this. Life in the fingers, life in the collarbone. And then dropping attention into the cloud of sensations that we are experiencing without the words. This life as earth, as body. And then moving down from the steady, firm, solid feeling collarbone to the little hollow place underneath. Move the fingers around in that hollow place and feel the tissue below. And feel it as water, as the water element in and as the body. Life in this body as water. And that slow movement of the hand against this tissue reveals the life, the water in the body. Then releasing, dropping the dominant hand down to the side, standing, breathing. Feel the air moving, moving in, moving out. This movement happens throughout the body. It's not just through the airway, through the nose, through the back of the throat, into the lungs. It fills the rib cage. So there's movement in the rib cage, movement of air in and out. A rhythm that's natural and flowing. It's part of the intelligence of the body. It knows it needs air. It knows the fullness and it releases. Knows the emptiness and inhale. So again, the facilitator uses words to direct our attention, but then there's just this cloud of sensation as the breath comes in and out. Breathing in, breathing out. Movement in the whole body. Air as living element in the body. Another element. We have earth and water and air. The air feels cool coming in. The air feels warm going out. The fire element is working mysteriously as this body, warming the air. As it leaves, we notice heat, fire, another element. It's not a thing, it's not a word, it's a cloud of sensations, warmth. So this body stands as earth, as water, as air, as fire. Life. Take the non-dominant hand and reach up and find the collarbone on the other side. Notice the earth element. Reach down, go into the hollow below. Notice the water element. Pause and feel the cloud of sensations. Release that arm and hand to the side and just breathe as a cloud of sensations, breathing in, breathing out. Raising both arms up across from the shoulders, drawing them in and pressing them down. Through movement, we become aware of the life in the arms, in the shoulders, elbows, wrists, fingertips. Pause. There's still movement, but there's no gesture. We're pausing to notice this cloud of sensation. Lifting, drawing back, and releasing. Through this rhythm, we discover life here, here, here. We can make it a quicker movements and push down, lift up, push down, lift up. Notice the mood. And pause. Turn the palms up. There's a cloud of sensation in the space that we call the palms of the hands. Stillness is not really still. There's always a little dance. There's always a little bit of a adjustment here and adjustment there. Bring the attention to those little adjustments. And then sink, open to the side, come down the center, and then drop the words. Just feel the lifting, feel the release. Staying with sensations, life in the arms, life in the feet. Notice the mood. And then come to stillness again. Notice the adjustments. A little dance. Very subtle gestures. Nothing we can see, but we can feel. So Robert mentioned that attending to is just a synonym for loving. Have one hand attend to the other. With your eyes, you can attend to the images on the screen. My screen has 6 or 7 images across the top. Attending with love and gratitude and the intention to do this again sometime. Thank you very much. We'll sit down again and Robert will have something of the Dharma to share.
Thank you, dear Jim. I want to try something. In order to do this, those of you on Facebook, I'm going to turn off your sound for a few minutes, actually. I think you'll just see me. I want to play a song from YouTube, and the broadcast will be blocked on YouTube if there's any commercial music. So you can always join us on Zoom, much more interactive. Okay, what's this here? The output through your computer, and this is testing 1, 2. No, that didn't work. Testing. Oh, no, I think it's still going. How can I do this? Clear layer. Testing. No. Yeah, no. Did that do it? Yes. Push this over. Testing 1, 2. Very good. Hello there, friends on Facebook and YouTube. If you'd like to watch and listen to what we just heard here, if you go to YouTube and look for John Denver, The Wandering Soul. You'll find it. Okay, well. Someone is unmuted and typing. I can check. I think we're good. Jim. No, Jonas. There it is. I'll mute you, Jonas.
No, it was.
Okay. There we go. You look like a ghost, Jonas. Oh, you're moving. I see. You still look like a ghost. Well, love is only letting go of fear. There's a promise in the journeys of the mind. I got up early this morning, which is pretty common. Had a long time to sit. And I was wondering, what will I talk about today? There's a lot of responsibility in it seems to me, to say something that's useful, true to the Dharma. Something I haven't talked about in the last 2 weeks. And as I sat with it, it became quite clear that there was fear around it. And as I sat with that, it became clear there are many things in my life that I'm doing or could be doing that I don't do quite full-heartedly, or I actually don't act because of fear. I'm afraid it won't work, or I'm afraid somebody will be hurt, or somebody will be offended, or I'm 73 years old. I think fear is going to be with me through the whole journey. And as with any aspect of our being, it really behooves me, and I think by extrapolation you, to become really aware of this fear. It can be quite subtle. I mean, there's big fears, but there's little fears that and the more mindful I become, the more I notice the arising of such things. So what can we do? I think it's exactly the same. It's always the same approach, really. It's to articulate, what is it? Where is it? It's certainly unpleasant. Hang on, I realize I got to do one thing here. Do this. There. It's unpleasant, and one can do lots of things to avoid it. One can powerhouse over it sometimes. But how potent it is to pause and to sit down and to notice this is fear. Oh, I just remembered something, a story I told to someone the other day. I was 55, I think. Maybe not that old. Couldn't have been that old. 45 anyway. When I went back to graduate school to get a master's in social work. And then I was a licensed clinical social worker for 20 years. But I never learned how to use a library. I never really learned how to do research. And I had a prior master's degree, a master's in environmental studies that I did at York University. But I figured out somehow how to not do that research, library research. But then it came, the social work, there was a research project that had to be done. And I went to the library and I realized I was quite frozen. I was really stuck. I didn't know what to do. And I realized this is fear. So I went to my desk in the library and I decided I would sit and just go into it. And who wants to go into something as unpleasant as fear? And I don't mean go into it and think about it. It was to experience, where in my body does this exist? And when I pay attention there, what are the thoughts? And it was a really powerful meditation. It went on for maybe half an hour, 45 minutes. And I got all the way back into high school where they were showing us how to use the library, and I didn't pay attention. I think I was afraid I couldn't do it or something. But I didn't pay attention, and I never learned that basic skill. And so the fear, at first it grew and grew and grew, and then it shrunk down. And then it occurred to me, well, what I need is a little help. And then there was a reference librarian who I'd passed a few times. And I went and I attempted to speak to this person, and they didn't look at me. They stayed in their work, and it was obvious that I wanted their attention. But and then another thread of my life came in. By then I was 45 years old or so. I'd hired consultants for a variety of different things. And I was used to, in a small degree, having employees. And it suddenly occurred to me, oh, wait a second. Oh, and I was starting to feel hurt. It's like, oh, he doesn't like me and I should know how to do this. But rather than stay caught in that, it became clear that I needed to say something. And I went, could you help me? And he was kind of snippy, which was interesting. And then it was obnoxious on my part, but I was feeling better by then. And I said, oh, I guess maybe I have it wrong. I thought your role here was to help people who needed help in the reference section. And then he got up in a grumpy place. But he said, this is where to start. And he took me to the social work abstracts. I mean, it's an obvious thing. I mean, it's a simple skill to learn. One can get better and better at it. Now in the era of internet, it's even more rich, I suppose. But anyway, I was off. I could do it. I suddenly knew how to begin, and then I went back a couple more times for help. But had I not stopped and turned into that fear, I might never have learned. I might have had to run from it. I might have failed out of that program. So fear. I would like to ask you, how aware are you of fear in your life? And how it keeps you from doing things? How your life stays narrow and constricted? Where's that? How does that poem go? I had it here. Oh, I lost it. See if I can find it. This is it, I think. Yeah. Keep walking, though there's no place to get to. Don't try to see through the distances. That's not for human beings. Move within, but don't move the way fear makes you move. Today, like every other day, we wake up empty and frightened. Don't open the door to the library, which I think of. Don't open the door to your repetitive patterns that you've done a million times and start reading, start repeating. Take down your dulcimer. Let the beauty we love be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. Looking for you again. Where'd you go? There we are. Life is inherently unstable. I mean, that is such an understatement. Life is nothing but unstable. I learned I can't remember who taught me, but a long time ago, when I've had students and guests come to me with a lot of anxiety, from the Buddhist perspective, I always teach them the 5 daily recollections. Right? You remember them? I am of the nature to age. I've not gone beyond aging. I am of the nature to fall sick, to sicken. I've not gone beyond sickness. I am of the nature to die. I've not gone beyond dying. All that is mine, beloved and pleasing, will become otherwise, will be separated from me. That's a whopper. Right? I'm the owner of my karma, heir to my intentional actions. Born of my karma, abide supported by my karma. Whatever karma I shall do, of this I shall be the heir. When I spend some time with that, I do notice that my fear diminishes, because that's the big fear. Many of you that have been with me just over the years have heard me share this, that here in our house, it's to outsiders it might seem a little morbid, but when we're saying goodbye, like Jennifer heading off to work in the morning or something, or me, we tend to say, drive carefully. Why are we saying drive carefully? It's because saying goodbye is scary. Because this person's going out in a tin box to travel at 60 or 70 miles an hour on I-5. And we say, don't get dead. And there's kind of a laugh with it sometimes. Don't get dead. But it really is, it's true. Oh, I just remembered another quote I'd like to share with you. Ha-ha. See if I can find it. I think it's about practice and fear. I think it's under, let me see here. G-H-I-J. Ha. I don't think it's going to be there. Ah, I see. That makes sense. Here we go. Yikes. Okay. This is Joko Beck, a Zen teacher who became kind of a rebel and became her own teacher, her own self. Intelligent practice always deals with just one thing, the fear at the base of human existence. The fear that I am not. And of course, I am not. But the last thing I want to know is that. I am impermanence itself in a rapidly changing human form that appears solid. I fear to see what I am, an ever-changing energy field. I don't want to be that. So good practice is about fear. Fear takes the form of constantly thinking, speculating, analyzing, and fantasizing. With all that activity, we create a cloud cover to keep ourselves safe in make-believe practice. True practice is not safe. It's anything but safe. But we don't like that, so we obsess with our feverish efforts to achieve our version of the personal dream. Such obsessive practice is itself just another cloud between ourselves and reality. The only thing that matters is seeing with an impersonal searchlight, seeing things as they actually are. When the personal barrier drops away, why do we have to call it anything? We just live our lives, and when we die, we just die. No problem anywhere. Joko Beck. Looking for the... There we are. So, fear. Fear's not a mistake. I mean, for one thing, as an evolutionary, as a bioevolutionary phenomenon, we better have some fear. Right? If we don't have fear, we're not going to be alert enough to get away from the predators. Historically. And fear also mobilizes us, like fear and anger. They're there to get us moving. But to live with this fear, to see... this morning as I was sitting in it, and it became, the clouds parted a little bit, and I was like, wow, look at that. There's all these things that I might do, these chances I might take, this creativity that I might unleash, but somebody might disapprove. So there's something about setting ourselves free. I guess that's the essence of the Dharma, isn't it? The Buddha said, let go a little, be happy a little. Let go a lot, be happy a lot. Let go completely and know the happiness of the Buddha. So, I'd like to ask for your comments, questions, experiences with fear and awakening from fear, discovering the love that is there when fear disappears. If you'd like to speak, please just unmute yourself and you will be able to. And also, let's do this as a practice of speaking and listening so that when someone is speaking, we're actively aware of the body sitting here, the sitting bones touching the chair. And then when someone does speak, we hear the meanings magically appear in our consciousness. And also, if you are going to speak, I guess first, if you're someone who speaks easily and frequently shares here, you might wait a little bit. And with the intention of counsel to speak from the heart, to speak what's true, to speak with an intention of healing. And the fun one, don't prepare too much. Just see what happens when you unmute and allow that longing to speak. And notice any fear, of course. So I will now be quiet.
Hi, this is Christy. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I'm looking for you. Do you have a camera
I'm
on
in
or
a blanket with a hat on.
wave, would you?
Cold. I'm cold in my house.
Oh, there you are. Okay. Hi.
Hi. Um, I have fear all the time. And then I think another word for fear is anxiety, in a way. Uh, I I'm a successful person, but inside I have all this fear about stupid things like, ooh, I have to return something. How much is that going to cost? So I just put it off. And if you put it off too long, you might miss that opportunity to return it, a certain amount of time. Or I have this big fear right now. It's something I really want to do. I want to teach reflexology again at Clark College Community Ed. Well, I've done it, and it was working for me. I'd done all the hard prep work, and but that was years ago. And now I'm thinking, as a massage therapist, I I appear all zen and stuff, getting the nice mood for my clients. But my body's getting older, and fear is preventing me from stepping into looking for something else to do. And I need to do it. And I know I have this option if I approach the community ed again, they'd probably accept me. That would build up more of a teaching resume for something else. And I think this is really important for me. And I keep limiting myself from fear. And then that fear makes me get angry at myself. Why aren't you doing that, Christy? And then I really lose my zen, you know? So this is just real life issues. Oh, and then the last thing, I have all this fear of COVID. I'm boosted. And my fear is not catching it myself. It's that I'm going to infect one of my clients. And so I'm in fear all the time, and it impacts my life. Oh dear, I have to go into the grocery store to get something. My dryer broke. I'm in a laundromat. Imagine all the germs in the laundromat. But it's my fear. So I am sick of being afraid of these, and I'm just saying it's kind of embarrassing because I want to be in a level person. I want to be all cool and put together. But here it is. Don't want to return something. Don't want to teach something that I already know I can do. It's just these common things. And this COVID effing fear all the time. So anyway, this is a real person trying to live the Buddhist life with real problems, and it's fear. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. That was so beautiful, so honest. You probably didn't notice, but I did. When you talked about it, a few times you put your front teeth together and kind of gritted them like you wanted to bite somebody, and there's some self-hatred in there too. It's like you should be over this by now, damn it. And did what I said this morning in terms of stopping and really turning toward the fear itself make sense as part of your practice?
It really does. It certainly does, and it sounds very scary to think about, like, where did this come from? That might uncover all kinds of things I'm really afraid of. I've done a lot of blocking out in my past. I like to compartmentalize and move on.
I love how straightforward you are. Just great. Well, the Western psychologist type person in me is always interested, where does it come from? And the Buddhist approach isn't so much interested in that, but is interested in fear as a phenomenon. Fear as it exists in the body, and it may well have associations and thoughts and realizations. But one of the key pieces of the insight meditation strategy or approach is to go beneath all the thinking and all the ideas as to where it came from, and experiencing the fact that it is here right now. And this is how it is right now. So I guess it's a question of both, all of the above, but not neglecting the bare attention, really coming into and it can be. I mean, there's all kinds of things that happen in my body when there's fear. There's kind of like a rising in the throat here, a tightness, and it is closely related to anxiety, of course.
And then there's that recrimination from myself. You need to get over this.
Right. So that's worth observing as an autonomous phenomenon by itself. Right? Because what we tend to think is, I should stop attacking myself like this. Well, you're not attacking yourself like that. It's the conditioned mind that does that. It's quite robotic. And if we go into that attack mode, then we've lost the capacity to be with the fear. We're then in attack mode. And so then what to do? It gets a little tedious. We turn toward that and notice the self-critical mode. David just put something in the chat. Robert has a guided meditation. He does. Oh, I don't know here.
Oh, well, thank you.
Oh, here it is.
It's on the PIMC website. It's an older one of your collection.
Great. Excellent. Well, there we are. Yeah. There's actually something in the can that can be helpful. Go check it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Robert?
I hear a voice.
It's Jai.
Oh, hello, Jai. Yes.
Hi there. I'm so glad you just brought up the point about when I'm in fear to turn to it, because yesterday I had a great example of being in fear, but I just was in fear. I didn't bring any awareness to it. So just a short story was, I was taking a walk with a friend in an area where I walk a lot because my knees are a little limited. I've had a fall, blah, blah, blah. I always take the same trails, and I know them. And so we started going off on another trail, and it was more rigorous. And I was asking her, do you really know where this trail ends up? And she kind of did. And then she was more sure. But the whole time I was in fear that we weren't going to end up in a good place. And so, so that's what I was paying attention to. And I was missing the flora and fauna, really. And had I been able to be with my fear, I think it would have been a much better experience for me. I mean, not that it has to be good, but there'd be awareness. And the ironic part and the good lesson for me was that at the end of the trail, it ended up at a place that I knew. So it gave me this whole new trail with a little bit more rigorous approach to do. And then it even attached to another place that it made the picture bigger for me instead of living the limited life of fear. I have plenty of fears and I'm aware of them, but I just love the idea more. Be conscious of the fear when I'm in it, as opposed to trying to make it go away or whatever. Just bring awareness to it. So thank you for that.
Isn't it a trip that it brought you back to somewhere familiar?
Yeah.
I mean,
I was so thrilled, and this is a great lesson.
yeah.
Expand, be more adventurous, be wise, but be more adventurous. Don't get constricted with the fear and give into it. So it's like
Yay.
both of those. Thank you.
You're most welcome. God, I just had a flashback to 1973, I think. I was with my girlfriend living in Switzerland, in Geneva, and we we rented in an old farmhouse just at the Vesey Plateau, just outside the city. We could bicycle to our work in town. And the second night we were there was a humongous party. The people who lived there had a giant party that we weren't part of, and the noise was terrible. And I had a complete flip out. It's like, oh no, now we're in a place where it's going to be noisy all the time and blah, blah, blah. It never happened again in the whole year we were there. But I had such a suffering that night, the presumption, fear of it being like that. Wow, I hadn't thought of that in decades.
Hey, Robert.
I hear a voice.
It's Bruce.
Hi, Bruce. Hello,
Hi.
Mr. Yukon Bruce.
Yes. So I had sort of a question, comment. So I've been going through quite a bit of health issues that seem to be getting much worse. And of course, as a person who's, I would say I'm actually hyper aware of everything in my body. So it's interesting that I find it quite challenging in terms of like doing meditation, like body scans or something. It part of my brain can kind of see the theory of observing and then kind of moving on and letting go, but sometimes it's just too much of a challenge to letting go. So yeah, I just find it, and of course it's back to the whole question of fear, because in my stage right now, we don't really know what's wrong with me, just there's something wrong with me. So anyways, so of course one tends to imagine one of the worst nerve diseases, etc. So anyways, just that it's anyways, I'm just finding it a challenge sometimes to move past some of that, or to accept. Anyways, it's that question of sort of fear of death, but probably more than that. It's fear of how bad is it going to get before you get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, just some comments.
Can I respond?
Yeah.
I'm really sorry to hear that it's continuing to get worse. I've had the presumption that any day now you'll get better. So, there are a variety of strategies that we have for dealing with pain and suffering and sickness. One is denial, and we can do that when the suffering and sickness is mild, when it goes away. Another is to use medications, and sometimes they can be really helpful. A few months ago, I had an injection into my spine for some pain I was having in my right hip and leg, and boy, it's been a miracle. How long it will last, I don't know, but it's been wonderful. And then there's the meditative approach, which is when there's pain, significant pain, to turn toward it and embrace it and go in and in and in and in and see if, in fact, the pain opens up into being sensations and not suffering. And as I'm sure you know, Bruce, there's a couple of meditations of that ilk on the website. I think it's called Dissolving Pain. It's an old one up there, but it's the strategy. So we turn toward it and we use our concentration and we go in and in and in. And then also we can go the other direction, which is we go out and out and out. And we are, in our awareness, we realize what we are is in our vastness. And then the pain is a much smaller part of the psychic economy. And sometimes that really works. I had kidney stones in India way back when, and that was my first experience of that. But that was brief. It was a few days. It wasn't an ongoing, potentially degenerative condition. It's now a long time ago, 23 years. It's hard to believe. I ruptured my quadriceps tendon. This is all of my quadriceps on my right leg in the mountains. They all tore off my kneecap. And I was, in the end, I was rescued by the Army. They sent a Black Hawk helicopter that took me out. There's actually a little article about that on robertbeatty.com. I think it's under resources. It's called The Swish of a Horse's Tail. It's an article I wrote while I was recovering from the surgery. So I went to see this orthopedic surgeon here in Portland. Scott Grew was his name. And he said, yes, we can repair this. And the pain after the surgery is going to be much, much worse than the pain it is now. And I thought that was interesting. But I'd been being so successful with using meditation with the pain. And so the surgery happened, and then I was home. I couldn't get out of bed for 3 or 4 days. And the pain medication wasn't right. It created itching, but I didn't read the paper, and I was kind of out of it. And so I was ready to do the turn toward it practice and, have some concentration and move toward it and have it become scintillating sensations. And I was ready for that. And that wasn't what happened. I would wake up in the middle of the night, or maybe not get to sleep, and I would have taken all the medication I was supposed to take and then some, and the pain was still just grinding. And, I distracted as much as I could. I listened to the BBC News again and again, and it's amazing how quickly that stuff just becomes dust and uninteresting. And I did guided meditations, but there it was 2:00 in the morning. I woke up and I knew I was in pain. I wasn't supposed to take any more pain medication till dawn, 4 hours away. And it was like I was trapped. I was trapped in a body that was hurting like hell. And I was desperate. And then it occurred to me one time, finally, there were 2 ways to talk about what happened next. One was some kind of surrender happened, and I realized this is the human condition. And I remembered the Tibetan practice of Tonglen, of taking and sending. And I feel a rush of sadness as I think of it. In Tonglen, one imagines that in one's heart, there's a golden Buddha, or a Kuan Yin, or a Jesus, or a Mary, or whoever would be inspiring. And that one thinks about the circumstance you're in, which is whatever it is, whatever your loss is, whatever the suffering is. And then you open your circle of compassion and understanding, and think about, I wonder how many other people there are. In your case, Bruce, I wonder how many more men there are around my age in Canada that are suffering something like this. And then going bigger, maybe in North America. And the numbers start really rising. And maybe now we include Central America and South America. And in fact, we open up to the vastness. There's so many people experiencing the same anguish that I am. And then, and this is the brilliant part that seems quite counterintuitive, but then one to do this practice, one imagines that you've got the golden Buddha here in the heart, and then you imagine that you are that golden Buddha, and you draw all the suffering from all the people in the world that have the same experience you're having right now. And you draw it, and it comes as streams of black smoke, black and gray smoke, and they come in and they spiral in, and they spiral into the heart, and in the heart they're transformed into compassion. And then we breathe back the compassion. It's and you'd think, well, what a crazy thing, you're pulling all this into, but you're not pulling it into yourself. You're pulling it into that great archetypal transformer, which is love, or the Buddha, or God, or whatever. So we're breathing that in, and we breathe it back. And there's a sense that my way of making sense of it is that this is the human condition. Right? It's not a it's so easy when something really bad is happening to say, oh no, this bad thing is happening to me, and it is happening to me. But it's something that I share with a lot of other people. And of course, that's just that's the kind of suffering that I'm experiencing personally right now. There's all the other varieties, right? How many people are on ventilators right now in the United States and the world? It's so huge. How many people lost a family member? Well, over 200,000 people a day die. So the suffering on this planet is just astronomical. So does that make any sense, Bruce?
Oh yeah, no, thanks for that. And yeah, no, it's just a challenging thing at times. And of course, like you mentioned the backdrop of COVID, it's even a little harder to get much medical help these days or anything.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Do you anticipate flying to Vancouver for care, or do they have?
It's a bit up in the air. I'm on some wait lists to see some people, but we'll see how long that takes. It's hard to know. Yeah, but thanks, Sangha, for your time. Anyways, yeah, and, yeah. No, it's just hard because it is ultimately kind of a solitary journey, really. Even though friends occasionally ask how you're doing, etc. They've got their own issues and their own life, so it's yeah, you just can't be out as active as you'd like. Anyways, that's enough about all that. Anyways, hope everybody else has a good day. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, Bruce. It's actually a gift to the community, and you're not the only one here who's suffering some threatening, difficult condition. It's much more common than we let on.
Yeah. Thanks.
Well, it's already a little afternoon. Does anybody have something else you'd like to share?
Robert, I would like to say, if I could, it's Dave Mayer.
Hi, Dave.
That releasing anxiety meditation, I could probably recite it from memory. I've listened to it so much. When I wake up in the middle of the night, I get swarmed by anxiety. When I wake up first thing in the morning, I get swarmed by anxiety. And so I'm often at 3, 4, 5 in the morning heading to the seat and the iPod and turning on that meditation. And one of the one of the early things I learned from that meditation, it was something you said in it, that when you got oriented in the body and the breath and all that, and you said, turn to the anxiety, where is it located in the body? And then you said, forget about the word. And the exact quote is, the word would of course be different in any other language or in every other language. And that really helped me change how I meditate, because suddenly it's just a sensation. It's just that, fear, anxiety, it's just a sensation in the body. And even the word anxiety or fear has a story behind it. Fear, fear, it's just a sensation. And to be able to sit and separate the story of the label from the sensation of itself is huge. I woke up, I'm swarming with anxiety right now. I've been all morning. It's 3:00 in the afternoon here. And in the meditation, your guidance, it's just helped me to just be with the sensation, so that I'm not afraid. It's just that there's this energy going through my body. There's sort of an aural penumbra around here, which if I allow my thoughts to attach to it, I'll become afraid. But it's just sort of an ongoing awareness that it's just a sensation, and in any given moment, where's the hatred? Oh, right, there's the hatred, let go. So that's why I use that. That is just one of the core things that you've given me that has just changed my life. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, David. I just spotted Molly. Oh, and there's Denise spinning. Wow. Well, anybody else got something that's got some pressure on it to speak? In which case, Molly, are you ready to go? I'm gonna make you visible to everybody. Here we go. You ready? 1, 2, 3, pop. There you are.
Can I share something before I sing?
Can you say something? Sure.
Okay.
Oh, show something. Ooh, okay.
I've had Blue Baby since I was 0, and she's really, really special to me, and I can't go to bed without her. It's really hard if I don't have her.
Uh-huh. Oh, and that's her right there. Does she have a name? She must.
Blue Baby.
What's it say?
Blue Baby.
I see. Well, you're lucky to have her. Would you like to lead us in May All Beings Be Happy?
Sure.
Whenever you're ready.
May all
Beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Rockadoo.
Well, thank you, Molly. Thank you, Aaron. Well, friends, comes to be that moment again. Thank you for being together this morning. I feel much more present and less fearful in a way.
Oh, no.
So please have a fine, safe day. See you, those of you that come on the mornings, on the weekdays. I'll be here on Monday again. And others of you that come on Sundays, I'll see you next Sunday.
Right.
Happy
And maybe
trails.
I'll see some of
Thank
you
you,
tonight.
Robert.
Goodbye, Blue Baby.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste, all.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Jim.
Rhonda.
Thanks, Robert.
Thanks,
Love
Robert.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear friends. It's amazing how people disappeared and click, 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 click.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye, Molly.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Jamie.
Hi, Robert.
Goodbye, Bruce. Take care. Well, here we go on the leap to hyperspace. Goodbye, friends on Facebook and YouTube. Thanks for being here. Sorry I wasn't looking at you much today. I couldn't get this other camera to come into Wirecast, the streaming